stage 4 of informative explanatory writing. This is going to be the full-on paragraph with an official topic sentence, details, and conclusion. So I tell the children, we've learned our topic sentence when we were at stage 3. Now we're going to learn how to write a paragraph. So let's learn what a paragraph is. Ready, everyone? Topic sentence, SS light bulb. That's the big idea of a paragraph, what all the information is about. Now I need details. That's information, all about that topic sentence. Then I need a conclusion. I need to repeat that topic sentence, but use different words using S light bulb. Once you've introduced this chant, down the road, you're going to want to just simplify it so that it's a very fast chant. Here we go. Ready? Topic sentence. That's the big idea of the paragraph, what all the information is about. Details, details. That's information about the topic sentence. Conclusion. Repeat that topic sentence, but use different words. Instead of just saying SS light bulb, we'll leave that out and we'll say topic sentence. That's the big idea of the paragraph, what all the information is about. Then we'll say details, and you'll repeat this 3 times. Details, details. That's information about the topic sentence. Conclusion, repeat the topic sentence, use different words, and then get rid of the S light bulb. I want to caution you, when I do conclusion, I'm going conclusion, and I'm pointing back up to the topic sentence. I'm going repeat that topic sentence, and then I'm yelling at the conclusion, and I'm going, but use different words. So that way they can remember that they're just ending their topic, they're giving that closure to their paragraph by repeating what the big idea is, but you don't want them to copy that topic sentence. You want them to use different words. Let's review the pages for stage 4. This is your teacher cheat sheet page to teach your students how to write a paragraph. Here we have our topic sentence, steps 1 through 5. You already taught them this, and you want them to know that. Boys and girls, we already know how to write a topic sentence. That's what stage 3 was all about. Now the details, that's the body of the paragraph. That's how many details do you need? We don't know. You never tell the kids, oh, you need 3 details at least. You tell them, we need to write as many details needed to tell about that big idea. It should always be about the information, not an arbitrary number. In the details part of your paragraph, in the body of the paragraph, what you're going to find here is that you're going to draw a detail box each time. And this is a repeat of stage 2 when you're writing a simple paragraph. And that is, these details are either going to be organized by categories or organized in a sequence. And that's critical that they've learned that in stage 2, because you're adding more as you go up stages. You keep adding more. Next thing you're going to see in this section, though, is step 3, and that's expand the detail. You have expand cards, and what this is this is where we're going to add a tell more, why, or how phrase to a sentence if needed. And we're going to have different types of conjunctions or connecting words to help us connect that phrase. So now you'll have expanding sentences. You're going to have more complex, more sophisticated sentences using this technique, step 3. You don't have to do it for each detail, but it's that option is there so your children are adding more to their writing. And then finally, the last part here is the conclusion. And the conclusion, in order to help children repeat the big idea using different words, if my SS light bulb up here was butterflies, and then what about them, have different body parts, so they can survive. When I go down here to my conclusion, I'm going to have to say subject. Well, I already set up here butterflies. What's another way I could say butterflies? Could I use a proper noun, pronoun, or a synonym? Oh, I'll use a synonym. Insects. These colorful insects. Instead of saying body parts, I could say use their head, thorax, and abdomens in order to survive. Instead of saying body parts, you could actually name those 3 parts and would put them there. Or even just draw a picture so that you have the 3 parts that you're pointing to. These are your at-a-glance step for the topic sentence, for the details and conclusion, aligning you to your Common Core standards. So you have all those elements in your informative explanatory writing. embedded in your lesson. You have your descriptor box that tells you in the content and organization, sentences, and mechanics, what will you expect your children to have? What skills are you teaching at this stage? And eventually you want children to master at this stage under content and organization, sentences, and mechanics. Below, you're going to see brainstorm. And what this basically is if students know the information, what do you always do in a lesson? You brainstorm first. So in this particular example, what happened was the children were studying an earth science unit, and they were studying about weathering and erosion, and they were brainstorming information, and the teacher was recording the information up on the board. And as the teacher recorded the information, it was grouped in categories. What information went together? Now you'll find when kids brainstorm, they tend to go with details first. So put the information up on the board. The children are not writing on their own paper. You would just let them together, talk in pairs, talk at tables. Then you would have different tables or different children where you would ask them to tell you everything they've learned in their earth science unit. As they tell you information, you put it up on the board. As they gave me details, I would ask them, well, which one of these places should I put that information? If you just said plants break the rocks into tiny pieces with their roots as they grow, would that go over here? Now these aren't labeled yet. I'm just with the details asking, would the plants go over here where I have the waves crashing on the rocks and breaking it into different pieces? Would I have that there, or do I need it in this category where I see wind and rain and then plants breaking rocks into little pieces? Oh, this category. So then I write it down. They start telling me where to put the details. I may stop after a while and say, well, what are all these things? Wind breaking rocks into pieces, different types of water and rain, plants' roots, the frost, the frozen weather. What is that? Oh, that's weathering. So then we box it. Now you have your big idea. When you're getting information from the kids, you want to identify which category does it go into, and should we box it? Should we give it a big idea after a while? Look what we have. We have a weathering paragraph and a coastal erosion paragraph. I now have two different writing projects that my kids can do when it comes to informative explanatory writing about information they've learned. These same steps could be used if you were the giver of information in lecture notes or interactive writing. This particular example for stage 4, it's after a unit of study where the children know a lot of information, they brainstorm, and now we take the brainstorm by identifying one of the paragraphs of information that they brainstormed to walk through the steps to actually write it out on a planner. Next to you, you see our details. These were the cards I showed you. If the details are for categorizing, this is our prompt. If the details are for sequencing, this is our prompt. And then if we're expanding details, here's our card. Tell more, why, or how about that detail. So we have our cards here for our details. On the right page over here, we have our steps, the wall chart. Right behind me, I have an example of this stage 4 chart. Notice the topic sentence has the pink or reddish type of color, the details green, and then the conclusion is also going to be red because it's repeating that topic sentence. You have it color-coded so kids can see the different parts easily. You have your chart so that your students can visually see as you walk through the steps and they follow it. The goal of this lesson is for them to master these steps because these steps are the metacognitive steps that your brain goes through in order to write information. That's what you're doing here. It really doesn't matter about the erosion paragraph or the weathering paragraph. What really matters is that they understand these steps, because if they can do these steps, they can write any paragraph. That's our whole point when we're teaching these lessons. So we have over here your steps, a sample student planner. We will follow those steps in order to write a paragraph about weathering. Let's get started. So on our blank sheet of paper, what sheet of paper is that? Legal size sheets of blank paper you are going to give the children. Now, you will always fold the top part of the legal size paper, and then you will give each child one of these blank sheets of paper to fill in the organizer. Always begin the lesson with the chant. Then go and follow the steps to fill in the organizer. So we're going to write a paragraph about weathering. Let's do our chant. Ready, everyone? Topic sentence. That's the big idea of the paragraph. That's what all the information is about. Now we need details, details, details. That's information about the topic sentence. Conclusion. Repeat that topic sentence, but use different words. We're going to follow the steps to write a topic sentence. Step 1, get organized. We need our secret formula for our topic sentence. So we go to the top of our page and we're going to write S, light bulb. And as you're doing that, you're always saying to the children to keep them going quickly in the lesson. Look how quickly you're writing that down. Step 2, we're going to go to the middle S. And we're going to put our hands up like this, like we're looking at a textbook, open it up, and everyone say, subject, who or what is this information about? And on our brainstorm, we know this information is about weathering. Wow, that's a long word. Should we write it letter by letter? No, how embarrassing. We're like college students. We can write it quickly. Weathering. Boys and girls, who or what is this information about? Weathering. Let's act that out. Weathering. Next, we'll go to step 3. Step 3. What's the big idea about weathering? What information did we learn about weathering? What is it all about? Look at the brainstorm chart. You're pointing to this chart as you're trying to look at the big idea. So you're going to say to the children, let's look at our brainstorm. We know we're writing about weathering, but what's the big idea about weathering? What are we telling everybody in our brainstorm here? Let's look at the details because they're always going to tell us what the big idea is about. Let's see. This is about how rocks cause weathering, how water and rain cause weathering, how plants cause weathering, how the water freezes in cracks and rocks. It causes weathering. Oh, so this is about all the different types of weathering. That's what this whole brainstorm was about. We're going to put different kinds. Now let's go back and read it. Ready, everybody? Weathering, different kinds. And this is perfect for the kids to see. That doesn't make sense. We have our information there, but it doesn't sound right when we say it. Let's say it another way. There are different kinds of weathering. Ooh, that sounds better. You're showing the children the SS light bulb is the information they need to have in order to tell a big idea, the topic sentence, but you don't have to always read from left to right. That's critical. So we're going to now go back and say, what was our big idea? About the different kinds of weathering. But it doesn't sound right to say weathering different kinds. That's why we practice saying it. Let's go back and say it again. There are different kinds of weathering. So that's our big idea. Hey, let's add, who cares? Why is that so important? Why is it so important that there's different kinds of weathering? Is it because it's really cool? Or is it because the different kinds of weathering make rocks break into tiny pieces? Oh, that's what we learned about. We learned about on our planet Earth, all these rocks, they kind of break up into little pieces all the time. And what causes that? Weathering. So that's a really big idea. And that's a reason to tell us why it's important. Let's go over here and draw a quick picture of that and show all these little pieces coming off a rock. We're going to go back and read it. Let's start with the different kinds. Ready, everyone, go. The different kinds of weathering make rocks break into little pieces. Hold on a minute. We learned in our lessons a word that was really a higher level. Do we want to just say breaks, or do we want to kick it up a notch? What do we want to do? Let's kick it up a notch. Do we want to say breaks the rocks into tiny pieces or disintegrates the rocks? Which one do we want to use? Turn to your buddy and tell them. And without fail, the kids usually say disintegrate. Okay, let's say disintegrate then. Ready, everyone? Different kinds of weathering make rocks disintegrate. Cause rocks to disintegrate. Ooh, let's say cause. Ready? The different kinds of weathering cause rocks to disintegrate. Wow. This sounds good. Let's look at the next step. We have our 1 through 3. Now let's go to step 4. Step 4, setting. Do I need to tell you when and where these different types of weathering make rocks disintegrate? Yes, that's important. So when does this happen? Oh, does this happen just within seconds or does this happen over time? Over time. Let's draw an arrow there for over time. So we're going to put a little arrow here for over time. Let's go back and read our notes so far. Over time, the different kinds of weathering cause rocks to disintegrate. Wow. I have when this is happening. What else do I need on my setting? I need to tell where. Well, where are these rocks? Are they in outer space or are they on the planet Earth? On the planet Earth. Let's go ahead and put that because that's important too. On our Earth. Let's go back and read our topic sentence. Ready, everyone? Over time, on the planet Earth, the different kinds of weathering make rocks disintegrate. That sounds really good. Turn to your buddy and see if you can say it. I have kids turning to each other. I'm walking around making sure that they have control over the language. We're saying this over and over and over again. Once they have that, then I can go back. Let's add some fancy words. Boys and girls, what is the most important thing in this sentence that we've created that we should describe? The rocks. I want to look at asking the question, what kind of rocks? Do I want to go in and tell you what they smell like? No. Does it matter what they feel like? No. Does it matter what they sound like? Well, they wouldn't sound like. That doesn't make sense. Ooh, wait a minute. Does it matter what they look like? Yes. What about what I say, the color or the size? The size. This affects all different types of rocks. They could be boulders, they could be small rocks. So we're talking about all sizes. So let's go and read our whole sentence. Over time, on the planet Earth, the different kinds of weathering make all kinds of rocks disintegrate. Always have to add a fancy word? No. Only if you think it's necessary. It's real critical for the topic sentence that you put the punctuation in there at the beginning. All the other sentences, you can do the punctuation when you're finished with the organizer. Go back and add it to them. Go to your sentence now, and what do we have, everybody? Punctuation time. Let's see, how did we start our sentence? Over time. Let's write over. O-V-E-R. What do we do with the O? Capitalize it. Because you always capitalize the beginning of a sentence. Over time, on the planet Earth, what do I need after my setting? Comma. Everybody, go, comma. The different kinds of weathering cause all kinds of rocks to change, to disintegrate. Wow. Look at all the different ways I said the same thing. And now what do we have? Our period. That's the end of our sentence. We go to add our period. We have our over time, on the planet Earth, different kinds of weathering make all different kinds of rocks disintegrate. That doesn't sound right. Let's say it again. Over time, on the planet Earth, the different types of weathering make all kinds of rocks disintegrate. So notice when I say it, I can say it differently each time. My oral rehearsal is revising the sentence until I think it sounds good. We're going to say topic sentence, check. We've got it. Now we need details, details, details. That's information all about the topic sentence. So let's look at what we're going to do for our details. You have your details questions here. The first thing we need to do for our details is draw a detail box, a line across where we'll put that detail. The next thing that we need to do is we need to figure out what kind of details are these. You're either going to categorize the details or sequence them. So look at the brainstorm. Boys and girls, let's look at our details. We have the wind causes weathering. We have water from waves to rain causes weathering. The roots of a plant could cause weathering. The freezing of water, becoming ice and rocks cause weathering. We looked at these pieces of information, these details that we brainstormed. Do they have to be in order for us to tell about this information, or it doesn't matter? It doesn't matter. We can take these details and put them in any order. So that means we can put them in categories. Everyone say, that's categories. That's categories. We can choose them in any order. What are categories? We can choose them in any order. So when we plan our categories, they can go in any order. That's important. Why? Because it makes us ask the category question. When we ask the category question, then that's going to help us stay on topic and write the idea down on our planner the correct way. And what is the categories detail going to do? This is when the details don't have to be in a specific order, and this is your card that you would have to categorize the details. Tell about one kind, and then what was our big idea? Weathering. Tell about one kind of weathering. Tell about another kind of weathering. This is our categories card for writing details, the question they need to ask the big idea in order to stay on topic and write the correct information. All right, we are going to tell one kind of weathering, another kind of weathering. That's what we're going to ask each detail. In stage 4, we also want to see if we can expand on these sentences. Let's start writing our details. What do we always do? Let's repeat what we've already planned. Over time, on the planet Earth, different kinds of weathering cause all types of rocks to disintegrate. We know our big idea. What do we need, everybody? We need details, details, details that tell all about that big idea. That's information about that big idea. We need to use that word kind. And the first way we say it is, what's one kind of weathering? We're going to go to this first box, draw some wind. I could write a keyword or draw a picture. It really doesn't matter. This should be fast and quick. Too many words, though, become confusing to kids and it delays and slows the lesson. That's why using non-linguistic representation, simple icons, are usually suggested when you're filling in a planner. Keywords are there only if you've really brainstormed and you need them. They're critical. Sometimes some kids, when it comes to drawing, it just interferes, so I just let them write keywords. You really just do what's going to work best for your kids. Keywords, drawings, or a mixture. We have wind. All right, so we have that first part of our sentence. How does the wind, what does it do? Oh, so the wind is going to pound on the rock. So now let's show that rock. How does that wind cause the rock to disintegrate? So we have the wind is blowing on the rock. How does it do it? It's blowing little grains of sand off of the rock. So we have that's how it does it. It's pounding on the rock, and then how does it make the rock break down, disintegrate? By blowing little grains of sand off of the rock. Let's go back and let's say it. Start from the beginning. Over time, on the planet Earth, different kinds of weathering make all types of rocks disintegrate. We go to this line, and kids just look at you. You want to ask them because you don't want to give them the sentence, so you're going to say, what kind of weathering was here? Go back to your question. Oh, wind. The wind pounds on rocks and makes grains of sand fly away. Wow, that sounds good. We have our sentence. We went back and we want to say, all right, you know what? Maybe we want to add a transition, or we could just say the wind. I think we just say the wind. So we have the wind. Sometimes we can add a transition. Sometimes we just put the first word of the subject, which we're referring to the wind, and then we put that on our organizer. Let's go back and reread this sentence again. The wind blows on the rock, making tiny grains of sand blow away. Wow, I said blow many times, didn't I? So let's say instead of blows, why don't we say pounds? Okay, let's do it again. The wind pounds on the rocks, making tiny grains of sand blow away. Wow, that sounds good. Notice I'm saying it over and over and over with the kids until we think it sounds pretty good. All right, we have our sentence there. Are we finished with all of our different details that tell about the different kinds of weathering? No. We're going to go back, get organized by making a line for our next detail. Then we're going to ask our detail question, which we know is going to be, what's another kind of weathering? So what was another kind of weathering? We look at the brainstorm chart that we made, and we are going to choose this time maybe how plants, how when their roots go into the rocks, they cause weathering. So we choose that one. We just talk about it. We're not making the sentence yet. We're drawing the idea. Remember, draw the idea so that you have it down. Then go back and try to figure out how you're going to say the sentence. If you try to do both at the same time, kids freeze up. So what are we going to do? We're going to draw let's make some little cracks here with roots in it. And here's our plant. We have the plants, roots going into those cracks, and it makes the cracks split apart. We have the plant's roots going into the rocks. We now need to figure out how to say the sentence. What do? Go back and reread what we have so far so that we can plan this sentence. Ready? Over time, on the planet Earth, different kinds of weathering make all types of rocks change or disintegrate. The wind pounds on rocks, blowing away tiny grains of sand. What are we talking about here? The roots of a plant. All right, so a plant's roots. Let's go ahead and write the word a there to start our sentence. A plant's roots, what do the plant's roots do? Do they grow inside of a rock, or do we want to say invade the cracks of a rock? Which one do we want to do? It doesn't matter, they're both correct. Invade kind of sounds better though, doesn't it? Let's use that. What are we talking about that causes the weathering? The plant's roots. So a plant's roots, what does it do that causes weathering? It grows inside the cracks of rocks, or it invades the cracks of rocks with its roots. How does that make the rock disintegrate? So that's our second part of our sentence, the how. All right, so we have the roots breaking up the rocks, splitting open those cracks, invading them, and because it makes them split open. So let's put split. So it causes the rocks to disintegrate by making those cracks that the roots go into split open. We're going to go back and read the whole thing. Ready? Over time, on the planet Earth, different kinds of weathering make all types of rocks disintegrate. The wind pounds on rocks, making grains of sand blow away. A plant's roots grow in the cracks of a rock, making it split open. Let's add our next detail. Remember, what's another kind? What's another kind of weathering that makes a plant disintegrate? So we look at our brainstorm chart, and this time we decided, let's put a rock there. Let's put some rain coming down on a rock, maybe some waves of an ocean. And now we're going to talk about water. So we have our rain coming down, and we have our pounding waves hitting rocks that can cause it to disintegrate. We'll go back and we'll read it. Ready? Over time, on the planet Earth, different kinds of weathering make all types of rocks disintegrate. The pounding wind makes tiny grains of sand fly away from a rock. A plant's roots grows in a rock's cracks, making it split open. Rain and waves, what do? Do they sit on a rock, or do they crash or pound on a rock? Oh, we already had pounded, so what could we say? Crash on a rock. They hit a rock. Let's do hit. Ready? The rain and waves hit rocks. How does that make a rock disintegrate? It makes it wear away. So let's put a word wear here so that we can remember that. We have our how in this statement. Shall we go back and see if we can start this sentence? I could say the. Well, you know what? This is another kind of rain. Let's look at our transition wall. We're writing in categories. So let's figure out if one of our transitions on our category box would help. A category could tell you how many. Are we talking about how many when we talk about rain and waves? No. Are we talking about which one? Could we say like also, like another type of weathering is rain and water, or also, meaning another type of weathering? Let's use the word also. So we have also for our transition. Also, rain and waves hit rocks. I don't want to keep saying making. What if I use the word so? Let's put so there. So they wear away. That sounds good. Let's go back and read our whole paper. Ready? Over time, on the planet Earth, different kinds of weathering make all types of rock disintegrate. The pounding wind makes tiny grains of sand fly away. A plant's roots splits open the cracks of a rock. Also, rain and waves hit rocks, so they wear away. Boy, we're sounding pretty good here. Are we done with all of our details? No, we had one more on our chart. So let's draw our line. And let's look at what we had, and that was about when you have cold weather and water freezes in the cracks of a rock. So let's go back here and make our cracks in the rock, and it's freezing outside. And those cracks are now going to widen. Ooh, let's put the word widen. We have our picture of our information. Here's the water freezing inside these cracks, making the cracks widen. That's how it's going to change the rock. So we'll go back and we'll reread our organizer so we can figure out how to plan this sentence. Go. Over time, on the planet Earth, different kinds of weathering make all types of rock disintegrate. The pounding wind makes grains of sand fly away from rocks. A plant's roots can split rocks open. Also, the rain and crashing waves will hit rocks, so they will wear away. So what are we talking about? Ice. So ice, where? Inside the cracks of a rock, make it widen and break. So let's start that sentence with what word? Ice. So let's capital it. We have all our details. So we have our details, tell about the big idea. We are done. What's the last part? Let's go down to our directions, and the last part is the conclusion. So we have our big idea, we have our details. Now what do we need? Conclusion. Repeat that big idea, but use different words. So we were filling in our sheet. If they fill in one side of their organizer and they need more room, what do? Turn it over. And they keep going on the reverse side. We now are working on our conclusion, and we know the conclusion is going to have the secret formula, S, light bulb, because we're repeating the big idea, but use different words. We're going to go up and we're not going to repeat the setting, but we want to repeat the subject. So down here we're looking at subject, so we always go back up to our topic sentence and say, our subject was weathering. What's another way to say weathering? We could just repeat weathering if the kids don't know another way. If we had learned different vocabulary that we could use to say weathering, then maybe we could say the elements. But let's say that they didn't know that. Then I'll say, you know what, boys and girls, let's just say weathering again. It's okay to at least have one part of this to repeat using the same words. So we're going to use weathering because we can't figure out another way to say it. So let's say weathering. So what's our big idea up here? How all these types of rocks, what do? Make it disintegrate. What's another way I could say disintegrate? Could I say that they stay the same or change? Change. So weathering makes rocks, let's put our rock there, change. We have our conclusion. Weathering causes rocks to change. Let's go back and read the whole thing. If we sound pretty good, then we're going to go and put our punctuation in place. Ready? Over time, on the planet Earth, different kinds of weathering make all types of rocks disintegrate. The wind blows tiny grains of sand from rocks. A plant's roots grows in the cracks and can split open a rock. Also, rain and waves can hit a rock so it wears away. Ice inside the cracks of a rock can make it widen. Weathering makes rocks change. We have our entire paragraph here that we've been saying over and over again. We could go back and we could add some fancy words. So let's see if we want to add some fancy words here. First thing we want to do is just look at each one of these detail boxes. What's important here? The wind. What's important here? The roots. What's important here? We already have rain and water. We don't need to add that. The ice, I don't need to do that one. Let's just add fancy words to these two. What kind of wind would blow tiny grains of sand from a rock? Strong wind. What kind of roots would make a rock split open? Would they be weak little roots or mighty roots? Ooh, let's write mighty. We went back and we added some fancy words, some adjectives to important parts of our writing. After recording our fancy words, our adjectives to the important parts of a couple of sentences, we're going to go back and we're going to repeat our organizer over and over again until we have control over it. Do we have to say the organizer exactly the same way? No. What do we need to do? We need to make sure it makes sense. That's the key. And every time we say it differently so that we can revise through our oral language. So what we're doing now is we're going to rehearse how we're going to eventually write it, and we have to be able to say it with ease. So we're going to go back and repeat again. Ready? Over time, on the planet Earth, weathering makes different kinds of rocks disintegrate. The strong wind will blow away little tiny pieces of a rock. Notice how I'm saying it differently. A plant's mighty roots will split the cracks of a rock open. Will split open the cracks of a rock. Also, rain and waves will hit a rock so it will wear away. Ice will widen a rock's cracks so it breaks apart. Weathering makes rocks change. That sounds pretty good. We go back, we keep saying it over and over. What's the final thing we need to do? Punctuation time. So we have our punctuation for the top. Let's go here. The strong wind makes tiny pieces of rocks blow away. A plant's mighty roots split open the cracks of a rock. Let's do A, and we have our period. Also, let's make sure our A and also has a capital. The rain and waves wear away a rock. Or, also, the rain and waves hit a rock. So we capitalized also. Also, oh, that's a transition that we got from our transition wall. So what do we need? A comma. Why didn't we put a comma after the and A? Because it's not a transition. Okay, so we have also. That's telling us another type of weathering. Also, the rain and waves hit a rock so it will wear away. Let's put our period here. Ice can make the cracks in a rock widen. That sounds good. Let's put our I there, capital, period. And finally, weathering changes rocks. Let's put our W. Ooh, let's put an S there because we said changes rocks, and then our period. We have our entire paragraph. You've completed your organizer. What are you going to do? You've been planning and talking until your organizer is done. You follow the steps in order to fill in the plan. Now that it's all done, you've orally rehearsed, you're very fluent, you have control over this paragraph. You are going to take lined paper and write it out. Notice you put a paragraph box here. What this is a yellow rectangle that I fill in on the first line so the kids always indent. Eventually, you don't give kids a paper with this box on it. Every time they write where they correctly indent, they teach their brain to do that. Because too many times I'll say to kids, make sure that you indent before you write, and then they go right back and start on the margin. When they do it correctly, they teach their motor to do it, so it just becomes a habit. They don't even think about it, they just indent. So they orally rehearse, they have their paper next to their organizer, and what are they going to do? They're going to read their organizer, write down on their paper. How do they do that? They read their organizer, they'll read the topic sentence, they'll say it. When it sounds pretty good, they go over to their paper and they start writing and they talk as they say it. They say what they just practiced. Then when they finish doing that, they go back to their organizer, reread that topic sentence, and then they're going to go to the second detail. So they'll say their topic sentence, over time, on the planet Earth, weathering makes different kinds of rocks change or disintegrate. So they go over and they say it over and over. Now they go to write. Over time, on the planet Earth, weathering makes different types of rocks disintegrate. They say it, they finish writing it, they go back to their paper. They repeat the topic sentence. Over time, on the planet Earth, weathering makes different kinds of rocks disintegrate. The strong wind makes tiny grains of sand fly away. Let's say it again. The strong wind blows tiny grains of sand away. Say it again. The strong wind blows tiny grains of sand away. Yep, that sounds good. Now I'm going to start writing it. So then they write it. They keep doing this process as they go through their organizer. They say it. They practice saying it. Now they write it. And they keep repeating this over and over. As you write this out, now that we finished this organizer, practice doing that. You will find you will constantly repeat this over and over, and while you're repeating, that's where you're going to be revising the sentence through oral language. Children do not like to have to write out a whole paper, go back and keep fixing it and rewriting it. The language piece here makes you revise on the spot. Once it sounds good, you write it out. Try that out, see if you can write out your whole paragraph now. When you finish writing that paragraph, see if you can follow these steps to plan your organizer. Once you have this down, then you're ready to start teaching the children in your room. Good luck, and I hope you enjoy this.